top 5 Disney shows that I should be revived. I'm going to put a mixture of animation and live action within this list. But yeah, let's talk about these shows. Most of these are going to be animated. So let's get the one live action one out of the way. Wizards of Waverly Place. This show was really successful when it came out, and I know this has been a big one on Disney Plus in terms of the Disney Channel shows, because it's one that's very recognizable. I mean, lots of people my age who grew up watching the show have been revisiting it. When Disney Plus first dropped, it was one of my first revisited shows. I don't think it's some great masterpiece or anything, but I still think it is fantastic for a reboot or revival where Alex is older now, because Selena Gomez is significantly older when she was in the show, and she could play a parent now. And the reason why I think this would be a better revival, if you go back to the older episodes, they're not very good. The special effects are pretty lame and pretty bad, even for the time. And if we were to go back and do this, we could give them better effects, and we could actually make a high quality reboot for what it is anyways. Like, I'm not going to say it's going to be up there with The Mandalorian or anything, but yeah, I definitely think this would be a great one to bring back. Number 4, Rescue Rangers. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers is kind of making a comeback, and Chip 'n Dale are making a comeback. So Chip 'n Dale, we don't know too much about this. We know it's a series, but is it like a series of shorts? There was an image that was shown around, but that image was just of the characters drawn in the kind of Mickey Mouse short style. So it makes me think that that's what it is, but who knows? And Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers is going to be a film for Disney Plus, but Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers was an actual series, animated series. This is a live action movie. So we're getting reboots to Darkwing Duck. We got one for DuckTales. I think Goof Troop and Tailspin are in the cards too, but I think out of these shows, the one that has the most possibilities for stories is flat out Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, and I think they should bring it back. And I hope this movie is successful, that we could get an animated series reboot and do some things with that. Not to say that you would actually have to change that much about Chip 'n Dale, because I think the way it was kind of already perfect. You know, Darkwing Duck, a little updating. DuckTales, there was a lot of updating, but some of these other shows like this, you don't really need to update too much. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Next up on this list is Gargoyles. Gargoyles was fantastic. And this is the thing. I think it could be rebooted as a series or a movie or both. And I think they could do live action, animated, whatever. I don't really care. I just want more Gargoyles. This is one of the best animated series, next to Batman the Animated Series of all time. It is beautifully animated. The voice acting is phenomenal, especially from Keith David and so many others in this voice cast. I would prefer a reboot, because the other Gargoyles really don't have much personality in the show, and I think if they were to reboot it, they could change that, or in a revival they could change that too. But I also just feel like not enough people have seen the original to where a revival would really work. I think they should do a live action movie, and if that movie on Disney Plus is successful enough, spin it off into a series, make it a 8-episode series, and if that first season's good, keep going. I mean, there's so many possibilities and stories you could do with Gargoyles. I just don't understand why it hasn't been done yet. So, yeah. And this might be a weird one. Kick Pataski. This one actually has a high probability of being rebooted. I know that the creator is rumored that his show might come back. The only issue I see with this show being rebooted at the moment is it's not on Disney Plus right now. A lot of the Disney XD shows are actually not on Disney Plus. They're on Hulu, and so that's going to be a little bit of an issue. But it has the highest probability of coming back, and this is a fun show. It's not a great show. I just think there's more stories you could do with this kid trying to be an extreme, kind of stunt double. That'd be fun. I guess we're just gonna make this a longer list because I actually realized I have more than I actually plan out in my head. But whatever. Yeah, so that one's a good one. I really want to see that one come back. The 7D. I don't know if people remember this one. It seems to be a very forgotten show. But this was just a fun show about the 7 dwarves in a magical fantasy land. And it's, despite what it sounds like, it's actually not like a super cutesy show. It's actually just a fun show. And there's a lot of great humor in it. The show sadly only got 2 seasons and was canceled before its 3rd. I think a lot of that has to do to the fact it was airing on Disney XD and probably didn't see the viewership it needed. But that's because it was probably airing on Disney XD, right? So, yeah, I think they should have done a lot more with this show. They unfortunately did not. And I think there's more stories to be told. Yeah, Kick Patowski and this show aren't really shows that need to be revived. You don't need more stories. Like, they don't end on cliffhangers or anything. But there's just more, I feel like, that needs to be told. The only problem I see with this one, it's not on Disney Plus. It's not on Hulu. It's not on any streaming service from what I saw. And that really bums me out. I hope that we see that one on there on a service at some point so I can go back and watch some of these episodes. Because I would have liked to watch some of these episodes again. But yeah, Fish Hooks is the next one. Fish Hooks might be a weird one because Fish Hooks did have an ending. We had a constant kind of love triangle story between Oscar and Bee within the show, and it ended. All the characters graduated high school. That was kind of how the show ended. And that's the thing. I liked the ending. I think it was a good ending. But I think there's possibilities for an even greater reboot. I could imagine them bringing back the show and we have a story where Bee and Oscar are parents and they have kids who go off to high school, and you can see them as adults trying to deal with their adult lives and still learn to have fun, while the kids have a subplot where they're going through kind of similar things that their parents went through. And I think that could be a more relatable reboot to the audience that watch Fish Hooks and then also graduated with the characters. And I think that could be a really great revival, because the thing I always hated about Fish Hooks was kind of all the adult characters were kind of treated a little stupid, and that's just because a lot of the voice acting, and they weren't like necessarily idiots or anything, but they were also just kind of like joke characters that don't really have much depth. And that's the thing with the kind of any high schooler story, but I feel like they could do more with that, and I feel like we could expand upon it, get some kind of cool story, and we can have like, hey, all the older teachers you remember from Fish Hooks have a plot where they're retiring and maybe Bee and Oscar become teachers, which is probably something they never thought they would do, but they're like, you know what, we could actually be good at this, and that could be a story in the show or something. That could be really cool. I don't know, I just really like Fish Hooks, and it was kind of sad to see it end when it did, but it made sense. I feel like it could have gone on for one more season because, high school is a 4-year thing, and so it only went on for 3 seasons, and then the characters graduated, which I'm fine with. Doesn't need to come back, sure, it doesn't, but I feel like it's something that could, and it could come back in a way that I think would be interesting. And and different. It could actually expand upon the show and maybe give us some new characters and old characters and things like that. And I don't know. We'll see. The next show I want to is my number one most wanted show to revive. I know it probably will never happen. Wander Over Yonder. Now, if you don't know what this show is, the show's on Hulu right now. I probably will be reviewing it very soon. This show only lasted 2 seasons. This show had a pretty rough production. This show is created by Craig McCracken, and it came out on the Disney Channel originally. Disney Channel was going through a phase where they had all these animated shows. They premiered Gravity Falls, this show, they premiered some other animated shows, and then they just canned them and said, you know, screw it, we're just going to move these to Disney XD, where they faced very low viewership. Now, Gravity Falls was such an excellent show that got people invested that they were able to jump ship and switch networks and do that. But no one was willing to do that for Wander Over Yonder. Because what Wander Over Yonder was just kind of an episodic comedy at first. And that was most of the first season. And the first season took forever to finish because it kept getting jostled around networks, switched for air dates. It wasn't easy to keep up with, as someone who tried to keep up with it on its release dates. And this show, if you don't know Craig McCracken, he created Foster Home for Imaginary Friends, the original Powerpuff Girls. He created Kid Cosmic, which is coming out on Netflix. And there's some other shows he created in there. But, you know, he is a great cartoon creator. And what he wanted to do with this show is make it kind of an episodic comedy, but also expand upon the world and have, like, ongoing stories and continuity. But Disney canceled it after his 3rd season and refused to do it. So he was pretty pissed about that. And instead of staying with the Disney network, he left because he was very upset over a show being canceled for no good reason. It's not his fault that the network decided to throw his show around and not air it properly and not market it very well. And he wasn't very happy about it. And so, yeah, I mean, Disney, you were kind of scumbags about this whole ordeal. And, yeah, it was unfortunate because this show could have been something that was very different from any of his other projects. You know, the Powerpuff Girls had kind of continuity sometimes. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends had story arcs and continuity, but not too much. I mean, this could have been something very different. And you see a lot of hints of that in the 2nd season. And they just kind of threw that away, said, no, thank you, we're not interested. And the only show that they kept running was Gravity Falls. And Gravity Falls, some people put down in the comments, well, it also only lasted 2 seasons. Yeah, but Disney wanted more. Disney didn't tell people it was canceled for a long time because they were trying to hide that from the fans and hoping that Alex Hirsch would change his mind about canceling the show. It was his decision. So a lot of that was on Alex Hirsch. And sure, some people say, well, it could have gone on for more seasons, and I agree with that, but I'm happy with our ending. I think it should have gone on for 1 more season, but, you know, whatever. But yeah, those are my picks for shows on Disney Plus that could be revived. Let me know what you think. Let me know your picks down in the comments. I'm sure someone's going to throw Kim Possible at me. I agree with that one, but it's such an obvious one. I just felt like it didn't need to be on this list. So...